I know y'all are talking, but I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Hey, Miss Susie Mackey and Judy.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Are you on spring break?
No, next week.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody.
We had a big benchmark test today, and we have one Thursday. And Friday, I collapse because I'm done.
Yeah. I don't blame you. How are you guys?
Fine. Beautiful. Even though it was cloudy, it was still a nice day.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's springy out there.
Yes. We've been pulling our shrubs up. Well, we cut them off actually. In the front.
What'd you
I
do?
know we really bad.
Why'd you cut your shrubs down?
In the front, because they were so dead looking, and and I said, I'm ready to get rid of them. They've been there 30 years.
It's time to move on, right?
Yes, I've had enough.
What you gonna put there?
I'll probably just put some flower boxes out there under the windows, kind of. For now, I'm not going to plant anything right now.
Judy, there's a really weird yellow thing at the top of your monitor.
Oh, that's a flower.
Oh, I mean, you have such a pretty yellow flower up there.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Speaking of spring and flowers, I'm ready for spring break.
Is that next week?
Yes. Yes. And then we fly into star testing season. So, bleh.
Oh, wow.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Miriam.
I will
Hi,
call the
Miriam.
meeting to order, the regular meeting for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Some members of the city council may participate via telephone or video conference. A quorum may or may not be physically present in the city council chambers. Texas Government Code 551.127A-2. Citizens wishing to make comments should email. That's
Imparks.
okay. mparks@evermantx.net. mparks@evermantx.net. Citizens' comments received prior to the meeting adjourned will be read to the council. Why'd we change it?
Per the city attorney.
Okay. All right, if everybody please rise for a moment of silence while I pledge allegiance. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are going to drop down to item 5, presentation, swearing in ceremony, Officer David Tatsak.
Tatsak? Yep.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to introduce, once again, a blast from the past. Come on up, David. Officer Tatsak was actually employed here with the city of Everman from 1994 to 2000? 97 to 2004. He was actually previously a corporal with the patrol division. We recently had an opening, and he has requested to come back and join the family once again. So I'd like to swear him in tonight. If you'll raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, David Tatsak,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the city of Everman
of the city of Everman,
police officer
police officer
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right. My condolences. Congratulations.
I accept your condolences.
All right. And then if you'll hold that, we'll take a quick picture. Oh, come on, man. Congratulations. I don't want that back. That's yours. You can keep that one.
Okay, now we'll go back to consent agenda. We had the financial report for February 2021. Is that all we have? Financial report?
Yeah, we're gonna, Mayor, due to some personal issues last week, Mindy was out, so we're gonna postpone the minutes to next month.
Okay. So financial report, February 2021. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve consent agenda financial appointment report of February 2021.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any questions?
Yes, this is Johnny. I have one, well, several. On the expenditure summary report, it's on number 2, it says the maintenance of the new police vehicles, were they damaged?
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, item number 2 at the bottom,
Yes, ma'am.
were the police vehicles damaged?
No, it's a monthly maintenance fee that we pay to Enterprise. And actually, there is one that was damaged in a wreck that
Two, actually.
too. That the vehicles that were damaged will be covered by TML. So that will be a budget amendment once we get that money from TML. But the monthly maintenance fee is covered, will be covered by the crime control.
Okay, my next comment was that the financial transparency spreadsheet,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
last updates were for the month of January.
Yes, ma'am. And I knew this was coming. We have had an issue with OpenGov, and Intellicus was not up and running. So we were unable to upload that information. So I have reached out to them. I'm hoping in the next day or so that will be able to be put up on the website for you.
Okay, on the check register, on one of the items, check number 679 for Amazon Capital Services for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am. That is actually several invoices. Basically, Amazon, we have an account and they send us a purchase order. And so it could be numerous purchases lumped together to add up to that sum. So I'd have to pull the actual invoices if you'd like to see those or know exactly which.
Yeah, we do a lot of general purchasing through Amazon, like our cleaning supplies, paper towels, just a lot of general purchases and some specialized purchases like IT equipment, our web cameras, those kinds of things. A lot of that stuff comes through Amazon Capital Purchases because we're able to get a better deal on it when we order through Amazon rather than going through a vendor direct.
And you would be able to see that through the transparency, the looking by department. Once I'm able to upload that information, you'll be able to see exactly which items were purchased through Amazon.
Check number 710 for the commercial credit. Is that the commercial credit card for $6,000?
Yes, ma'am. That is the credit card. All city credit cards are lumped together. So that's all of the department heads' credit cards.
Okay, and number 716 enterprise for $37,000. Is that? Go ahead.
Sure. That is 2 months worth of our lease payments. It was a timing. It was a short month. So, yeah.
Okay. And okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the financial report for February 2021. Would you call the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
Place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, so next item, make sure we hadn't missed anything. Craig, you want to move both discussion items to the end? Just
Oh, we
make-
can.
Okay,
That's fine.
but we're going to move discussion items 6, discussion items 1 and 2. We're going to move
Well,
that to the end of the meeting.
No, actually, I'm sorry, Mayor. Can we go ahead and review the after action review because that directly affects 2 of the action items tonight for the skid steer and the box
Okay,
blade. Both those items are directly
Right.
related to the after action.
so we're going to discussion items. Item 1 is 2021 winter weather after action review report, item number 21073.
Good evening again. My hope is that all of you have had an opportunity to review. I know that you have been swamped with documents this week and all kinds of things. So I'm sure that you have had nothing but time to sit down and review hundreds of pages that I've sent you. Of those, one of those items was the after action review. So from the winter weather disaster that we had a couple of weeks ago, I talked last week about bringing all the directors and department heads together to discuss our response and discuss what went right, what went wrong, where were our strengths, where were our weaknesses, and what we could do better for future preparedness and mitigation of such a disaster. We had that meeting and the mayor was included on that. And we had probably about a 2-hour-long conversation about our response. And the overwhelming amount of feedback that was received and things that we talked about was actually positive. The city of Everman responded very well to the issues that we had on hand with the freezing temperatures, with even the disaster that we had and the multiple main breaks and lines being frozen over. Just the response that we had and the ability of the streets department and the water department to come together, and even getting outside help coming in. I mean, the response was very, very good. But like with anything, there's always some weaknesses and things that we identified, and we did identify several of those. In the report identifies some of the strengths. It identifies areas of improvement where we could do a little bit better of a job. One of those is directly related to trash pickup. We're working on that. I've already expressed severe concern on the city's behalf of lack of communication from Waste Connections. They told us that they were going to not pick up trash on the Friday following the storm. And I told them that would be a direct violation of their contract and that city council would likely not be happy. And issues with this contract has already come up before. So they resolved that issue and did pick up the trash as per the contract. Mail was an issue that came up, that there's no communication from the Postal Service in the city. And therefore we can't relate to our citizens what to expect with the Postal Service. Other issues that came up was that, we had poor insulation on many of our well sites. That needed to be improved. The heaters weren't functioning in many of our well sites, and that needed to be improved. So from the weaknesses, we were essentially able to create several action items. One of the issues that came up that was a pretty immediate issue for us was that the box blade machine that's currently sitting out at the Shelby Road well site was not functional. It sustained heavy damage from the freezing temperatures. The lines froze up and all cracked, which led to a catastrophic failure of the machine, and it is no longer running at all. So during the incident, we had only one backhoe that was operational. And we had the street department, the water department, and contractors all having to share this one backhoe to respond to this incident. Our street guys weren't able to load up the pothole truck or load up the beds of their trucks to go out and treat the streets. Our water guys weren't able to dig out well sites that they needed to dig out because the contractors were utilizing the backhoe at the main breaks. It just created a lot of issues only having one piece of equipment available for all these different issues that we were addressing. As it stands right now, we had another main break today that the water department was utilizing the backhoe for. So therefore, no other department was able to use that to either load their equipment or take care of the park projects that we have going on. So one of the biggest action items that we have on here was the need for another piece of equipment like a mini excavator, a skid steer, and to replace the box blade. If you'll notice on the agenda tonight, we actually have those as 2 action items to bring up here in a little bit that we're going to request to move forward with tonight.
Okay, love.
Some of the other action items that we talked about were tire chains and cables needed for city vehicles. We didn't have any of those available, which kind of made it a little difficult for our public works guys to get around the city. They had to drive very, very cautiously. Our police cars were not equipped with tire chains or cables. Therefore, we had to utilize the 2 Explorers that we have. However, those 2 are about to be decommissioned, so we won't have those for icy conditions in the future. So we need to look to invest in some tire chains and cables. We're also looking to improve insulation on all of our well sites, research and find other distributors for chlorine parts, those kinds of things. So some of our action items are directly related to capital budget expenditures. Some other ones are just things that we can address within our own operating budget as it currently stands and just need to do that. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the report. If not, and you can't think of any questions tonight, my email's always available. My phone's always available. Please reach out with any questions. But other than that, I'll just answer any questions about the report right now.
The items that you just listed, other than the things that you were saying that could come out of your budget, are they on this CIP list?
A couple are. So the CIP was actually pretty much near completion by the time we did this after action review. So a couple items do need to be added to the CIP. The skid steer is already on the CIP, and I believe the box blade machine or a heavy loader is already in the CIP as well. Let me look real quick. Give me just a second.
I believe they were both in there.
Yeah, the Caterpillar skid steer, the model 262D is on the capital improvement plan. I don't believe the box blade is, but it is definitely something that's been identified as urgently needed.
Okay, but what is a box blade machine?
That's why
I see a fan. It's a box. It's got
you're gonna have to
blades.
come up here to the podium. Sure. That's why I brought the experts in tonight so they could answer these questions, because I could try to tell you, but I'm going to do a horrible job of it. So Jeff Reed's here tonight to explain what the box blade machine is and what it's for.
So the box blade machine it's a tractor. It's about a 450 tractor. It has a component on the back that allows us to drag any material that's on the ground and drag it away, or smooth any material around. We also use it to clean curbs, sides of curbs and things like that, to keep those clean. It's also got a front end loader so that we can actually load sand, dirt, whatever we need to, into a dump truck. It really helps us a lot with that. And not having one, we've tried to start working in the park to move the track, the walk track, to a different location. We need a box truck to finish that track loading. We can't get that track finished without that box blade back in dragging box. And then when you say box blade, it's actually a box that fits on the back, and it has a blade on it that allows us to drag and open up areas and clean areas out that we need. Does that help at all that I'm explaining?
Okay, what you just said, it's got a blade that allows you to do what?
It allows us to drag dirt, material, and things like that in a direction. There's a picture up right there.
Thank you. Okay, the picture says 1,000 words.
Yeah, that it does, doesn't it?
That's perfect. A box
Anyway, that's
blade
what I was
machine does
explaining.
nothing for me. This
You
is
don't have to
great.
dive right into it. It's not this. It's the one thing I would add is the water department uses this and the street department uses this frequently because of main breaks and things. This is a necessary piece of equipment that they have to be able to cover those main breaks back up and be able to asphalt back over where the repairs were made. So they unfortunately have to use this piece of machinery frequently.
It's used basically daily.
I appreciate the picture of it. That tells me everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
I sworn I seen that in the CIP.
Not the box. I don't think the
picture was, that picture popped up. It was an attachment somewhere.
My Chromebook has issues opening things, so I went through, the paper CIP has little boxes you can look at.
Yeah, and I know there's issues with the paper CIP. For some reason, there's a big formatting issue. that occurred when we combined these PDF forms, and
Mhm.
I know that there's a lot of errors on the workbook, but
No. What I mean is I was trying to look at it online, but my Chromebook has issues. It will not open a Word document, and it has trouble with, I have to click 4 and 5 times to get a JPEG to open.
gotcha.
It takes a long time.
You mentioned that some of the equipment being outside. Do you not have places to store the equipment?
Unfortunately, we do not have a place to store this equipment, this heavy machinery inside. As a matter of fact, that is one of the items that was identified in the CIP was a street equipment garage. We could have taken some steps, and that's one of the things that's identified in the after action review. We could have taken a few more steps to try to prevent the damage. Would it have been foolproof? No. But our guys could have gone out there and done a little bit better of a job trying to insulate things and keep things running beforehand. And that was one of the items that we addressed in the after action review. But we don't have anything as it stands right now to protect our heavy machinery from the elements.
Okay. That's the box blade. And what was that other piece of equipment?
It's called a skid steer. It's a very small, you've probably seen them used a lot on ranches and at maybe on small construction sites. Very small piece of equipment with a bucket on the front. It's great for, and when we get into talking about that item, I'll actually show you a couple pictures of one. But it's great for working in small spaces. It's great for working on side streets for our water guys when they're having to dig up in areas in between vehicles and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Sorry, Ryan, I'm gonna throw your guys under the bus. Today, while working on a main break, unfortunately, our guys, because of the size of machinery, took out a mailbox. If we had a skid steer, smaller piece of equipment for the area that they were working in, that wouldn't have been the case. They would have been able to maneuver that smaller piece of equipment around a little bit better. So,
well, it's a shame I wasn't out there. They could have sprayed me with mud again.
any other
So,
questions about the after action review?
no, because we're not actually talking about how we're going to pay for these things yet. I'll
Not
wait.
yet, but we're gonna get there.
I'll wait.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the winter weather after action review report? Okay, so let's drop down to new business. Consideration possible action. Item 1, approve and adopt the 2021 capital improvement plan as presented by the city manager.
All right, before we get started in this, I wanted to provide a couple of clarifying statements. First off, is all I am asking council to approve is the first 6 pages. The rest of it are just the workbooks. This is the stuff that the director submitted that was reviewed by planning and zoning and just kind of giving information. I know that the workbooks itself have some formatting issues as a result of me downloading them from Jotform, which was the software that was used. I will correct those and I will get the new copies out to you. I don't know why it did that when I downloaded. It looks like on some projects it kind of mixed them up. One second it's talking about a boom lift and the next second it's talking about a lawnmower. I don't know why the system did that. I will get that corrected. I will get you good, clean copies. But what we're asking council to approve is essentially the first 6 pages, the first 3 pages front and back, which is the actual capital improvement plan. I'm not asking you to approve the workbooks. The other thing I want to clarify is to keep in mind that this is just a plan. It's a roadmap. I'm not asking council to commit to spending these funds tonight. I'm not asking you to spend, $20 million and approve all these funds for the future. This is a roadmap for us. So when we go to do the budget in the coming months, we have an idea of where our needs are and where we need to try to focus spending our funds and urgently address these issues. So again, it's just a roadmap. I'm not asking you to commit to funding tonight, just to review it and give a good plan for us to look at for the future. The last thing is that it is a fluid document. Items can come onto the CIP and come off the CIP anytime during the year. The Planning and Zoning Commission is going to continue to meet on these projects. We tried to address the most immediate concerns up front and get these into a plan that we could start addressing right away. And then as we go forward, the more desirable projects, like our parks projects and museum projects and library projects and all these things that we've talked about, we can continue to add on here. So by adopting this plan tonight, you're not locking this in as an uneditable form. We can continue to update the CIP as we progress throughout the year, and it needs to be updated regularly and adopted in December of every year by City Council. So the plan is to re-update this between now and December. You'll get a whole new CIP in December to update and to adopt. So with that, I've got all the directors here tonight. In case you have a specific question about a project, they can answer those questions. What I want to do is, rather than each director coming up and kind of bouncing back and forth, I'd like to go department by department. That way the one director can stand up there for their 10 minutes of heat if you want to grind them to the wheel. But I don't want to get too off into the weeds on these projects, because again, I'm not asking you to approve the funding. It's just the concept. So once we look to go forward with one of these projects within the CIP, we are going to in-depth address that with City Council, and you will still have to approve funding and approve all the items just like you normally would. So I don't want you to have the mindset of we're asking you to commit to spending these funds. That's not what we're doing. This is just a roadmap for where the city's going to go. So I'll throw Landon under the bus first, because you're at the top of the list, and we'll address any fire department related projects that you may have questions about.
You're fortunate, Landon, because I've already talked to the chief about the questions I had, so
Wow.
I'm gonna lay off.
He just got off the.
That's why he put me in this position. So, and that's why, luckily I'm fortunate enough for him to completely trust me. So, any questions, fire away. I think
This is Johnny.
Yes,
My first question is, as far are these items that are on here, are they urgent? I mean, like you need them for a fire?
yes, ma'am. Every single thing I've got listed is a life safety issue for not only our firefighters and our employees, but also for the citizens of the city.
Okay, so have you already been researching for grants?
Yes, we have submitted each year. We have submitted for AFG, the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. That's the largest one out there. As I discussed it with the Planning and Zoning Committee, this last year we were turned down. I submitted 3 different grants for equipment, and then one for personnel. The response we got, we have reached out to a third-party vendor that does professional grant writing services, and is well known for getting his approved. He asked me to forward him all of what I typed up, and you can ask the Planning and Zoning Committee. It's very lengthy, 72 pages. He dissected it. He said that it was great. The issue is that, believe it or not, according to the standards that the Assistance to Firefighters Grants assessors put forth, we're in too good a position for them to want to give us the funds based upon where we stand financially and within the community. They like to focus on more of the, Detroits and things like that, where they've got to have brownouts for the stations where they don't even have a fire apparatus for 10 to 15 minutes from the response district, or a volunteer fire company that's up north that they don't even have any paid staff.
Oh, gotcha.
If you'll notice on each one of these, you get towards the bottom, it says proposed funding source. And a lot of them say general funds, some of them say grant. Then it says are grant funds offered for this project type, and they can answer yes, no, or do not know. So that information is in the packet that you received.
And it doesn't change the fact that each year there are a multitude of different grants available, and I will never stop applying for them. But that is the luck of the draw. And we never know what we're going to be able to get. So especially for the smaller ticket items, the And when I say smaller tickets, the things that aren't hundreds of thousands of dollars, such as the SCBA and the PPE for the bunker gear, those type things, the likelihood of me finding a grant for those is a little bit higher than it is for staffing or a fire truck. Because the bigger ticket items, they're the most intense competition. And there is a lot more grants out there available for the smaller ticket items more locally, through the Tarrant County, through the state of Texas, through the Forest Service. So I have a much higher likelihood of obtaining grants for the smaller ticket items. To me personally, if we would have, planning and zoning would have broke it down and said what was going to be the urgent versus the desirable, I would have put the fire apparatus and the staffing as urgent with a 3 asterisks beside it, and then the rest is the desired, because I probably will be able to try to obtain grant funding.
So you had listed Quint,
Mhm.
you had bunker gear,
Mhm.
SCBA's,
Yes, sir.
Additional paramedics.
Firefighter paramedics, yes, for
And
staffing.
you're talking 2 per shift.
2 additional per shift.
Yes, per shift.
Yes.
For a total of 4 people?
The
Yes,
first
ma'am.
3 years, that's covered under a grant.
A safer grants there are out there. I was
If
not
we
awarded
apply
this.
for it, we could potentially cover 3 years.
Yes.
But after that, then it's hard dime.
Yes.
So, trying to think, what else did you have on there?
Self-contained breathing apparatus.
Yeah, SCBA.
Oh, did you, and then MICU equipment?
Yes. For
Replacement.
emergency stretcher.
Now, the stretchers are outdated.
Yes,
The
the
ones
one we
that's
currently
currently
get, the one that we have currently in frontline is, according to our striker rep that does the servicing, there's a number of the parts that are not available at this point. And then I'm sure you're familiar with the power load systems where they actually elevate it. And my whole goal is our safety of our personnel and their backs. So there's other.
We can't go back to the ones you have to lift them and slide them in.
Unfortunately, no. And actually, by NFPA
Did it for
standards, I
years.
can't. So the way that we actually attach that to the floor of the ambulance, that is not within
Yeah.
NFPA standard anymore for restraint. So if the ambulance was to get in a collision, according to their standards, it wouldn't actually contain the cot as well.
And those they unscrew and just pop off.
The old ones do, not the new ones. The new ones have to be permanently mounted within
Really?
the ambulance. They're permanent fixtures, and they get they've got a multi-screw and bolt set that actually goes to the floor.
Now, you were talking about also a life pack,
We would.
life pack 5,
No.
or what was it?
Now you're going back to your days.
I can't remember what it was. How we
It's a
referred
LifePack 15, and there probably will be.
to it. Are you kidding me?
I'm with you, because when
I thought 5s were new.
I was working with a LifePack 5 with the tiny little screen that was actually smaller than your cell phone. I have worked with those as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
What are they running?
And
now?
getting too old, but the new ones are coming out, and all the technology is better by the day. And that's our whole goal, is to provide a better fire and EMS to the citizens. So
What kind of a cost are we looking at for life pack 15?
anywhere between, me personally, new to me is a good term. It could be a used refurbished, because when we get those units, when they're refurbished, they come with the same warranty through the manufacturer. So the ones we did purchase year before last, they came as new to me, and so I got those for, I believe, $16,000. To purchase new, we're talking anywhere between $25,000 to $35,000. And that's the current pricing model. Now, when you get something new, just like the new model car, they may say, "Hey, we're $40,000." Who knows? But I think the main concern with EMS equipment is going to be the cot, the stretcher. So,
Is there anything else you were asking for? Or was that we basically cover everything?
basically covered everything.
Why do you feel you need a Quint?
There are, I could make a very, very long list. Number one, as the individuals on the Planning and Zoning Committee recognize, because they were witness to the fire that we recently had off Gristmill. The male individual on the side and the female over here, they both said, we were watching it and we saw your hose lines just doing this. And we thought, wow, this is exactly why he was asking for an aerial device. There is one true effective way to stop an attic fire, to get above it. Too often than not, especially during the winter months, most of your fires start within the chimney flue or within the attic. Once it gets in the attic, the only way to stop is to put it out above. Once it goes and it's a defensive fire, I don't put people inside of there because I care. We run with the risk a lot, save a lot, risk a little, save a little. If it's going through the roof and I know that it's probably going to collapse the inside ceiling, I don't want to send guys in there. We could and go fight it from underneath, but that's not safe. The only way to truly stop a fire like that, which unfortunately is the way the construction is now, fires grow at an exponential rate compared to what they did 20, 30 years ago. Fires are through the roof within 5 to 10 minutes instead of still contained within that one room of origin. So we've got hotter fires, and we've got faster fires, and they go through the roof, and I've got to put a stop to them, for one. For two, I've got multi-floors going in at schools. That means I've got multiple incidents for possible rescues. I've got 2 stories that are going into a brand new housing development. I've got industrial that's going with a minimum of 38-foot walls or up to 42-foot walls. Now, that's going to be a whole different level of fiasco for us if anything does happen. I'm sure we all saw on the news the building in Richland Hills that just recently burned. If you looked at that, there was probably 2 or 3 engines placed around there. The rest was aerial devices. The only way to fight that fire is with an aerial device. Everywhere I've ever worked, and Mayor, I'm sure that you've experienced this, typically on a first alarm assignment, you get 3 engines and you get a truck. And the rule is truck gets the front. The aerial device always gets the front of the house. Why? Because it's the most important. Because I care about having that there as an opportunity to be have it for a defensive fire or a safety measure for any kind of rescue. And then go based off an FPA standard. If a residence or if a city has, well, it's 3 or more occupancies that require 35,000 GPM per minute in order for the fire load, based upon the fire load and square footage, then it's by ISO and NFPA standards, it's required to have an aerial device. We more than meet that standard or that requirement to meet that standard. And then I guess maybe this is probably the biggest one. I want to save you and everybody else in this city as much as I possibly can on your insurance. And my goal, my short-term goal is to get us from an ISO 4, which we are now, down to an ISO 2. My 10-year plan is I would love to be one of the, I believe, 75 cities in the state of Texas that are an ISO 1. And I believe we can do it. With all the changes that we're implementing and all of the forward-thinking, progressive thoughts that we have, I think we can do an ISO 1. I have spoke with pretty much all of the main vendors for homeowners insurance. And they've all pretty much gave me a consensus of anywhere between $400 and $600. If we go from a 4 to a 2, anywhere between $400 and $600 that you'll save annually on insurance costs. To me, that's priceless to be able to use that and say, hey, this is how much we're going to save you when we, yeah, it's going to be more cost to the fire department, but I'm going to save you directly to the citizen. And I'm going to give you a higher level of fire protection.
Well, I know at some point, relatively soon, we're going to replace something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a quint or an engine.
Mm-hmm.
My concerns are, do we really need a quint? Because the additional cost, I've got a lot of concerns because I know about the additional maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
I know about the additional training that's got to take place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm concerned about a young guy getting behind the wheel of a quint and driving something that's top heavy.
Right.
I've got a lot of concerns, and you and I will have that conversation further as we get down the road. But you know, we need to have our options open.
Of course.
You know, we need to be looking at engines. So whenever we are ready to make the move, that we're in position to purchase what's right for the city.
I can quickly the cost of.
And one thing you brought up though was ladder rescues. You know, a lot of times everything we have here is 2, maybe 3 stories, and a lot of times it's a lot quicker just throw a ground ladder than it is try to set that stick. So I don't want our guys to get focused on thinking they have to set a stick and waste 5 minutes when you could throw a stick or a ground ladder and have somebody down a minute and a half.
Right.
So I've got a lot of concerns, like I said, and you and I will discuss it further as time goes. But I mean, me and Craig have had that conversation too. So I know we're going to need something because our stuff is getting older. I know the county's fixing to put us on the list, right?
They actually, well, we were trying to chime into the meeting tonight, but we weren't able to. They're supposed to approve the purchase tonight of a replacement tanker for Tanker 19. And I believe they're going with a Spartan.
I
Metro.
don't know.
They're going with Metro Fire, I believe.
Are they?
Yeah,
We're not,
Yeah.
we tried to chime in, so or listen in. So I've already sent an email to the county to see if I can get a recording, because we don't know.
So we're looking at, is it 18 months for them also? More
Yeah, it'll be
likely?
12 to 18 months, somewhere in there for
Okay.
delivery.
And I think that's the biggest, why I said that the most urgent need, like today, yesterday, last month, last 6 months, is focus on the apparatus and on the personnel, because those are the most directly affecting immediately. And then with the apparatus, because it is such a long delivery time. So we punched the ticket today, it's still 12 to 16, 18 months before we actually take delivery, for one. And for two, because the financing options right now are amazing, and they do have a deferment program, so that we're not going to pay for it until after we took delivery of it. So we're not paying for something we don't even have yet. So it's kind of put off till almost 2023 budget.
Well, I know we have a tight budget right now, but we've got some things happening that could change that.
Yeah, the fire engine replacement is going to be an item that we're going to need to start discussing right away, pretty quickly. And the reason why we're going to discuss it quickly is because what you just talked about, the deferment, the long delivery date. Our engine is it's well out of date and out of compliance. We just spent $50,000 on it this past year fixing it. And the sooner we sell it, the sooner the higher the resale value of that engine we're gonna maintain. So now's the time to start discussing it.
I just want to make sure
And
we're
look at that.
financially
Yes.
stable
Oh,
when
yeah,
that time
yeah.
comes.
Oh yeah, no, and
Because, we owe a lot of money right now.
Yep. We
And,
do.
I want to make sure we have the funds coming in that we can afford it.
Yep.
So I know it's
We did-
taxpayers' money, but
We did look at I wanted to because I completely understand where you're coming from. There are 100% there are arguments to have a fire engine versus an aerial device. And I would be naive to think that there's not valid arguments on both sides. Go with the number one, money. It all comes down to the almighty dollar. We're talking about $850,000 to get exactly what we need for a fire engine, versus the 1.05, so $1 million, just under $1.1 million. You're talking about $250,000 difference for something that does get us so much more.
But
in
that's
providing.
upfront costs.
Yeah.
Because there's the cost of maintenance and training and other things is going to be higher.
Mhm.
Because the specialized equipment. I know, like Arlington, they're starting to get away from the quits.
Mhm.
They're going with ladder trucks.
Mhm.
So, but like I say, we'll have,
Are you saying we need to go with a tower?
well, I don't know.
We can,
I'm kidding. That was a joke.
we can stop it. We can run the tanker behind
The
it.
maintenance would be less. But I mean, when you only got,
Brian's ear stuck up. Oh,
well, when you only have 2 or 3 guys there,
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Mhm. Well, and I'll be honest with you. So with Landon, and I've kind of turned this over to him and told him this was his project. He has done his research and he's got a plan in place for training and things like that. So it's definitely worth something for y'all to sit down and have that conversation, because he's put a lot of thought into it.
well, like I said,
because
I'm not saying no.
Yep.
I'm just saying we need to have further discussions. So,
Yeah.
because it's a balancing act, between our finances as a city. We've got a lot of things need to be done. I mean, we're paying for probably 30 years of neglect, at least, maybe more. And we're playing catch up. So let's have that conversation. And Craig, and we'll come in your office you want to, and we'll have it in there, but we'll discuss it just further. And council, if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to send them our way.
And for everything else I've got on there, please, I'm open book, and I can explain in depth on anything you got.
I'm
Well, some of
fairly
it I
knowledgeable
understand
in
because
this.
Yeah, and for one, I respect and I appreciate your time that you dedicated to the fire service, and there's nothing that will ever substitute for decades the amount of experience you gain just from the decades alone within the fire service, it's invaluable. So I respect that, and I respect your thoughts and your feelings and opinions on it.
Like I said, I just want to talk about it further, and then we'll see. So.
I think that if it's something of a priority, we need to discuss it sooner than later. And if so, even bring it before the city where we could get a grant, not a grant, but whatever is needed for as a bond or something, because I'm pretty sure that they'll the residents would approve a bond for fire, anything regarding fire equipment or whatever is needed. I mean, because that's a necessity. That's not like something that you just want to put a present you want up under the tree. I mean, that's a necessity.
Well, Miss Allen, what we would do is once council approves this capital improvement plan, then not just for the fire department, but I mean, the engine's included in that, but all projects. We'll start from an administrative perspective, looking at how we can fund these and how we can move forward on these with the most urgent priority projects up there up front. So the fire engine replacement would be at the top of the list. It's something that we've got to look at. We've already looked at financing options. We know what those financing options would run. So now it's just a matter of, once council approves the capital improvement plan, of us going back, pretty much Susan and I sitting down and looking at our budget and seeing how things are going to work and where we can make room and how we're going to afford this, and then bring that back to council with a recommendation of, yes, we can do this. This is how we're going to do it, and let you decide on whether or not to move forward with it. And then which option to go with, of course.
Well, you did say there was potential of some grant money, right?
For all things there is. It's just, I'm fearful. I don't want to put that in my back pocket of the nest egg, because based upon what I received from the third party grant writing assistance, and it's an individual that I have known my entire career. I'm sure if I said the name, you would even know it, because they've been around for many moons and they have been very good at their job. I trust what he says about the perspective. So unless somebody can completely manipulate what I said and into a whole different realm, I'm fearful that, because by their standards, we're in a far better position than the highest priority municipalities that have put in for them. So I'm just afraid to put that in my back pocket. It's for the bit larger ticket items. The smaller ticket items, I think that there's a high potential for me to find those, and then as Chief said, we'll amend it and we'll find the other things that are going to improve our services. Those will be pulled out, and what else can we do that's going to make us provide a better service to the citizens?
Okay.
So I think at the end of the day, whether it's an aerial or whether it's personnel or bunker gear, to me, it's all about our safety and the citizen safety. As long as they're best well protected, however means that takes, that's what I care about.
Well, and I do too, but at the same time, our job is to work a budget. So, but we'll talk. So,
But then again, it is going to be brought back to the city council to review everything.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to go out and spend $1 million tomorrow. I promise.
That would
That's
be,
$1.5 million. That's
Just tomorrow, the day after.
that'd be nice.
Do we have anything else for Landon?
No.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Landon.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to jump on down to the Parks Department. This is going to be a kind of a mix between Jeff and Nicoletti on these projects. Most of these were actually submitted by Nicoletti. So any questions you guys have about the Parks Department projects?
Now they look pretty standard here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just looking at quality of life issues here in the city, and obviously our parks need a lot of work. Parking lots, reroute the walking track so it's not right up against Ray Street. Lots of issues. We need a playground equipment in Johnson Park.
Which has been needed for a long time.
Long time. And actually, I have a grant in right now for that.
Oh, that's good.
Like Landon said, regardless of what department it is, grants are highly competitive, very difficult to get.
Right.
So, you know, it's almost like an economic development deal. You know, it's competitive, and if you land the project, great, but it's tough. So we'll try.
That's all we can do is try.
Yeah, I noticed y'all were reworking the walking track.
We got to move this end of it to compensate for the new Civic Center and the parking lot and everything.
Mhm.
So that's why we're going to reroute that. But at some point in time, you know, if we ever get to the point where we have the funds available, what we'd like to do is not only relocate a lot of portions of the track, like I say, so it's not up against Race Street like it is, but also put a new surface on it. We're looking at some vendors that can put the rubberized type surface on it, like some of the tracks have, that would make it so much nicer for people to run on.
I don't run on it, I walk.
Yeah, well, it would help that too.
It's hard to walk on.
Yeah, it's tough to walk on. I've been walking it because I've been walking back and forth to Memorial Park, and it's like, yeah.
Also,
I've been going in the grass.
Well, I
I'd
know,
like to know how far they walk, so we can actually even stencil it later, and so they'll know, if they want to walk a mile, they'll know they've walked that mile. It'll be marked on the track.
I also know that it'd be difficult to move it down by the memorial to get it off Ray Street. But if we come in and put everything one way, that's going to put parking spaces there, and that'll protect the people. So I know you want to put fencing all the way around both parks.
We did, and that's because there are so many kids out there now that are running around. We just didn't want, you know, Ray Street's pretty busy, and so is Wichita, and even Johnson Park, you know, it's right there on Everman Parkway. I mean, we were looking at safety issues, and so we thought if we fenced the entire park, we wouldn't have, you know, the potential of somebody getting hurt. Ray Street scares me to death, you know, with the walking track right up against the curb, because I just hate for some elderly person or a kid just to stumble out into the street. So why it was designed like that, I don't know, but we need to relocate it and fix it at some point.
Well, I'm definitely in agreement with the fencing and the parking lots. Also the sidewalk projects. This part of that? Sidewalks?
Yeah, that one was labeled underneath research. That's actually streets. And that's just because Jeff has got to do an in-depth study. The P&Z wanted to get more research done and have an in-depth study and get more specific on sidewalks in this neighborhood, sidewalks on this street, not just an overall sidewalk rehab.
My head was spinning trying to do this thing. So
yeah, so that one was actually moved down underneath research. And Jeff's going to research that and bring that one back to P&Z for an actual designation, and it'll be broken up by different neighborhoods and things on which ones are going to be more of a priority.
now, one thing I did bring up to Craig, I noticed you put in for lawnmowers, and Lisa did too. And I didn't feel there was a need to double dip. You know, she wanted one to mow the well sites. You know, we need one set that everybody can use. So instead of every department having lawnmowers.
Parks already.
So,
yeah, the parks already got theirs.
They already got
Yeah, we
theirs.
got our
Yeah, they got their
okay.
mowers.
well, Lisa put in for some too.
Yeah, she put in for a mower.
Yeah.
For the well sites.
Yeah, and that one was moved down underneath necessary and not urgent. So
Okay.
thanks, Brian.
The park restroom renovations, is that 21,000 for each restroom?
No, that's all together. That's the whole
Yeah,
project.
that was all together. The restroom renovations, I don't know if y'all have been in the restrooms, but they're in bad need of renovation.
Yeah.
I don't go in there. They're
Locked at
nasty.
night. Are they locked
Yes,
at night?
ma'am.
They are.
Yes. The police department locks those up at night, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Okay.
Does that include the break that they had at the baseball field this past weekend or something like that? For water?
Pardon me?
They're at the baseball fields. I think I was told that there was a water pipe that busted and it was draining into the big field. Did that get fixed or?
Yes, that got fixed. Yeah.
Was that weather related
It was
or
behind the restroom by the pavilion at Johnson Park.
was that weather related or was it?
That was
Vandalism.
weather related. I think we turned that in.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Anything else for Jeff or Nicoletti? Guess we're good, guys.
Thank you.
I'm jealous.
What is Jeff with the water? That the water department?
No, so Jeff was up there for parks, but Jeff's about to be back on the hot seat. Don't go away, Jeff. Jeff's here for the street department projects now.
Okay.
So we'll take any questions about any projects you have on the street department list.
I did notice that a lot of them are done with the street tax, but then I've seen some that said they were coming from the general fund.
So, yeah, that has to do with the way that the street fund is used and eligible or what projects would be considered eligible for street fund tax. And parking lots are not necessarily eligible unless it specifically is for a public safety building. So that's why you've got the police department does qualify for street funds, but the Pittman Park and Memorial Park parking lot are not qualified under street fund tax to be utilized.
I thought I seen one of the streets that said general fund on it also.
Well, general fund is going to be listed across everything because we can use general fund to do any project we want to do. So you'll see that on just about any of them. But you'll see some additional funding sources that may be listed like street fund or grants, water fund.
How will you determine which streets are a priority over another?
So we actually talked in depth. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Jump in anytime, Jeff.
We actually talked in depth about
Good
some
line.
of these streets. So, our major streets are going to be the most important streets we need to get to. Race Street, for one thing, we really want to bring race to, you can drive down Race Street. It's like a landmine driving down Race Street, especially down by the school and even in front of the city hall here. So that would be one of our priorities right there. But our major streets, of course, would be the priority streets, the more run streets like this street, Christopher, possibly Michael, those streets like that are used more than just some of the neighborhood streets. Kelly's an important street also because it's one of the major streets that goes to east and west across.
Connects those neighborhoods.
Part of town.
Any questions for Jeff on streets?
So, okay, I have a question regarding the sidewalks. I know you said y'all are going to do the research on the sidewalks for as rebuilding versus I guess new or whatever. Will the rebuilding be a priority over the new?
I think the new should be a priority, and I tell you why, because we've got a lot of schools here that elementary kids need to walk to school, and you see them walking every day. They don't really have a good surface to walk on, and some of them walk out in the street, end up having to walk out in the street because they don't have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
There might be a bush or something growing in that easement there. If they had a solid walkway, especially here on Race Street, to walk down the Race to this school here, and then also Hommel needs a nice sidewalk that kids can travel to school. Those are real important for these elementary kids to be able to walk at least along Race Street to go to that school down there, Bishop Elementary.
Okay, I know that I can't think of what this street is. What Johnson's street is on. I mean, school is on. I know part of that's Fort Worth, correct?
Are you talking about on Shelby?
Yes, okay, on Shelby.
Yeah,
Now, there is a serious problem with the kids walking, and like I said, I think the one side is Fort Worth and the other may be Everman. Would they ever consider putting a sidewalk there so the kids wouldn't have to walk in the street?
So, Miss Allen, on the sidewalks there, we know that area is a specific concern, and we have raised that area specifically every single time we have met with Fort Worth about these residential developments that they're doing. We raised it when they put in the apartment complex, and they have straight up told us that because it is not on their master thoroughfare plan, they will not invest any money in the sidewalks in that area. So the only way it looks like right now that we would be able to get sidewalks there for those kids that attend Baxter is for the city of Everman to come in and spend those funds. However, you're talking $250,000, $300,000 of city funds from our city when we've got other infrastructure issues to address. So that's why it's not listed on here. We're going to keep raising that issue with the city of Fort Worth. I think it's their responsibility, since they're the ones doing the development and everything over there, to come in and do that sidewalk. And frankly, I think the city of Fort Worth needs to spend those funds for those kids that are living in those apartments and in that neighborhood to be able to safely walk to Baxter Junior High.
What about the crosswalk from Chambers Creek houses to Shelby? I've seen kids trying to run across the street.
So
I mean, to Baxter.
okay, so are you asking for kind of a more obvious crosswalk, safer crosswalk? I've got no problem with us spending funds on something like that. I think we could do that. And that just includes striping, signage, lights, those kind of things. We could probably spend the funds there. I would hate for this to recommend for city council to approve $300,000 on a sidewalk in the city of Fort Worth. Years ago, we paid to repave Shelby. And lo and behold, we found out after we spent that money on Shelby Road that road isn't ours. Shelby Road belongs to the city of Fort Worth.
Yep.
We shouldn't have spent that money to begin with, and we're not going to get that money back from Fort Worth. So I just hate to see the city of Everman spend funds in Fort Worth. But for something like that crosswalk, I think we could afford to spend those kinds of funds. That wouldn't be expensive for us.
No,
You
not
would
at
think
all.
the
In fact,
school, you would think the school would want to help a little bit.
You know
Well,
what, and
they do, and I can get with them, and a lot of times they have helped us because they have the machine that can actually do that work for us, and they don't charge us anything. We just supply the paint, and they'll go ahead and stripe it for us. And in fact, I had plans to contact the school about the school on Forest Hill Drive, Souder Elementary, because some of that striping's faded away
Yeah, that's
pretty much.
the
and the
striping
arrows
on
and
that
things.
road.
So I was going to
fades so
contact the
quick.
school about that next week and see, or this week, matter of
Yeah,
fact.
the
and see what
school,
they
the
can do to
school
help us out
district,
with
I will tell you, the school district's position is pretty similar to ours. Which is it's Fort Worth's responsibility. Fort Worth should come in, but they've also offered to help in any way they can and have been open to that. And we have got to keep pushing the city of Fort Worth to put in those sidewalks over there. It's a necessary item, especially now that they're adding more housing. There's going to be more kids walking down Shelby Road. And they have straight up told us, because Shelby Road is not on their master thoroughfare plan, they will not spend MTV funds on that road.
That should have been included with that housing addition.
Yep.
Yep.
them.
Instead, their resolution was that they are going to continue FM 1098, the Shelby Oak Grove Road that runs behind the high school. That road is going to continue all the way through to Rendon. And they say that's how they're going to alleviate the traffic flow out of those neighborhoods and things that they're putting in. But that does not address the kids that are going to
No.
Baxter Junior High.
That's still pumping the traffic onto Forest Hill Drive and Ray
Yes.
Street.
Mhm.
Yes, it
So
is.
Yep.
that's no help. So
I
big
agree.
surprise there.
Any other questions on the street projects?
No.
All right.
Thanks,
very
Jeff.
much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna throw Ryan in the hot seat, but I'm gonna help him out because the poor guy, he didn't actually submit these projects, so he's just gonna help with any technical questions y'all might have. Yeah, come on up. You'll be all right. And keep in mind, please forgive his appearance. He just finished a water main break right before city council. So he had asked me if it was okay for him to come in. I told him it'd be
So
fine.
you didn't tell them about Noble yet?
You know, I did tell him about Noble.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, we do now.
There's something leaking over there.
Yes, definitely. Looks like a valve.
Okay.
Any questions about the water department projects?
The only thing I brought up already was the lawnmower that Lisa
Yep.
had put in for, and I don't think we should be doubling down on equipment. So,
Yeah, but was that in addition to the two that we have?
I don't know.
I'm not
I don't know if
sure.
this project was submitted before or after that. So
It might-
I'll check with her. That may be an item that gets removed from the CIP later on.
okay. Anybody have anything on water?
I don't know what it is they're supposed to be doing on what is that, Columbine or Southway? Is that in the CIP plan?
Are you talking about the well project?
Yes.
No, that's not included on the CIP because it's already funded and everything. We're already moving
Okay,
forward.
okay, all right.
So yeah, we didn't include that one in here.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we got water line replacement on Bell Street
Yes.
to hook into the new neighborhood going in.
Water line.
Page line, I mean, what's the reasoning behind that?
Yes, we actually do multiple main breaks on that street. And especially from Windsor to Thompson.
Yeah.
it's really hard to shut that line off. We had to hit multiple valves just to kill that line.
So we need valves added also.
Yes.
Is that part of it?
Yeah. Well, and because of the age of the line, engineers recommend it's time to replace that specific line.
Are we going to have to increase the size of the line because of the 203 new homes going in?
That's an engineering question that's going to cost money for me to ask, but I can ask it if you'd like.
Well, I'm just asking. Do we just guess at it, say, you know what, let's add 3 more inches?
No, so each one of these projects came from the engineer. When Lisa submitted these projects, she asked Greg directly, hey, what water line projects do we need to try to address next? So these came from him, and the costs that are associated with it are his actual opinions of the cost as it stands today. So obviously we would want to increase that if we did it 2 or 3 years from now, just a little bit, especially with the cost of materials and things going up. So these are just cost estimates, but I would imagine Greg knows that we have the development going in there.
Okay.
So I'd imagine that he planned for that when he gave this cost estimate and recommended Bell Street be replaced. So I would assume that there's no change there.
Okay.
So a jet vac system truck,
You
300.
want to explain what that is?
Sure.
Sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
No, it's for the sewer to jet the sewer lines and to keep them going. Actually, we just had ours break down the Saturday after the freeze. So we actually had to call out Fort Worth to come out and help us on the line going across the field where the new addition's going, because we had an overflow. So they came out and they luckily were busy enough and they could help us run it. So we're down and out on that one.
Yeah, originally when the jet vac system truck was submitted, it was submitted as an urgent project to replace ours and upgrade ours, but now we essentially just don't have one. Ours is down completely.
So we definitely need one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Aren't you
Anything
guys
else?
loving this?
Oh,
The high school, that's that tank up at the high school, right there at the corner of the high school, right?
Yes, yes,
Going to replace that tank?
yes. It's leaking at the.
The one that the kids have broken the top to several times?
Oh, no, that's the tower. The one that's actually on Dan Myers, right by the baseball fields.
Okay,
It's going to be that one, the one catty corner from the tower.
okay.
we're hoping on that $3 million bond package for water lines, that if everything comes in low enough, we might have the money to get that one done.
Okay.
So hopefully get that done, no additional expense to the city. So
That'd be nice.
keep your fingers crossed. But anything else for Ryan?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, thank you,
You
Ryan.
got off easy.
So are we done with discussion?
Yep. So with that, I would just ask for approval.
I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve item 21074.
I second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to approve and adopt the 2021 capital improvement plan as presented by the city manager. Item 21074. Would you poll the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, item 2, approve the purchase from Holt, Texas Limited. DBA Holt Cat for a new Cat 415 F2 industrial loader in the total estimated amount of $77,428.85 through the state of Texas local government statewide cooperative purchasing program by board, utilizing street improvement tax funds, item number 21077. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 21077 as read.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes. Okay, it says we're going to, I'm looking at it. Purchase this utilizing street improvement tax funds. So
ma'am.
it may be a stupid question, but
No such thing.
do we have $77,428.85 in the street improvement tax funds right now?
Currently, we have $567,594 in that fund.
I saw that. It's on page 4 or something.
Yes.
Just wanted to hear somebody say it. Okay. Okay.
So, and let me tell you how we got there, because it is important to consider how we got there. We took out a bond in 2013. The 2013 bond fund is what paid for a lot of the street projects that we've been addressing over the last couple of years. Why am I telling you that? Because it's important to know that that 2013 bond fund has essentially been spent. There are no more funds there to address street projects. So we are back to relying solely on our street tax fund to fund our street projects. Currently, because of the 2013 bond fund and over the last few years, we've allowed those funds to build up. We have a pretty comfortable balance in there of the $567,000 with a budgeted revenue this year of about $88,000. I feel comfortable asking for City Council to move forward and recommend that we purchase both the box blade and the skid steer. And I know that those are two different action items, but it's important to know that both are coming from the same vendor. And the reason why we're putting both of them in front of you tonight is because the skid steer is on the capital improvement plan. And the gentleman working with us, the rep from CAT, is giving us a deal as a kind of a 2-for-1 kind of special. And both items are needed. So it's just, we have the advantage now to move forward on this. We have the street fund money available. I think it's a good opportunity to move forward. This will also help us if we don't purchase this. We're going to have to rely on contractors to come in to do some of the work that we have. And I think those expenses are going to wind up being a whole lot more than just purchasing the equipment outright.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to hear
I know. I
that
believe
we
me, I
had
did not
that
want
money
to-
somewhere. So cool. So we're looking between the two at about $90,000-ish.
This year, it is important to note on the next action item that that is a financing over the next 4 years, I believe.
Yes.
4 years.
Oh, I was
So-
looking at 12,000. It's 47,000.
Yes. So we just felt that to not drain the street fund any lower than what we have to and keep that healthy balance there, that the financing option would be the best option.
So we're looking at, I know we can talk about that when we get there.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to jump around. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion to approve item number 21077. Mindy, would you poll the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
here. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, next item, item 3, approve the procurement of a 2021 Caterpillar skid steer model 262 D3 from Holt, Texas Limited. DBA, I don't know what that is.
Doing business as.
Oh, doing business as Holt CAT through a governmental lease program utilizing street improvement tax funds over a period of 4 years for a total approximate financed amount of $46,989.58 at a fixed interest rate of 2.99%, making annual payments approximately $12,271.29. This is item number 21078. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve item 21078.
A second.
Motion been made and seconded for discussion.
Yes. Let me show you a picture.
Yay, thank you. A skid steer sounds to me like it's a bull. Long horns, maybe a little beard.
This one looks like a bobcat.
Well,
right?
you will be surprised.
There we go. Okay, that doesn't look like a steer. Okay.
Okay, now this is the same item that's listed under the streets department for 48,000.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay, why is there a difference in the price?
It give us,
What was the, hold on, let me look at the exact
it's
difference.
less because he's giving us a deal
Yeah,
for
it's
purchasing
less-
both.
Okay,
Yeah, he's given us a discount for purchasing both together if we go forward with both. So that's why it's less.
Okay, now, how much would it cost if you bought it?
That, stand by, I'll tell you. Give me just 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm multitasking here. 46,989 and 58 cents.
We are buying it.
No, we're leasing. You said we're leasing it. How much would it be if you purchased?
It's a lease to purchase.
Yeah, it's a lease to purchase. So we'll pay $1.
okay.
Yeah, we'll pay $1 at the termination of the lease, at the end of the lease, and that property will then become ours.
Okay, all right.
I had the same question. What's this lease thing? Okay,
Sorry, I apologize. I should have clarified that.
got it.
Again, the main reason for this is it's a smaller piece of equipment that'll make it more usable for tight spaces within our parks. Our guys would use it on a regular basis. This would be a great piece of equipment to add to their abilities and also prevent us from having to hire contractors to come in and do these small side jobs.
Does it come with any type of warranties or anything, any type of maintenance agreements or anything?
Yeah, so, well, go ahead.
Well, he's not.
Yes, there are warranties on them, and they also provide free training on both pieces of equipment.
Okay.
So they'll train all the guys on it, which was good. So yeah, and then of course after the warranty, then we'd be responsible for the maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how long is it before you can get these when purchased?
Well, if you tell me tonight, yes, we're going to process it tomorrow.
ASAP.
They need these now. We have some main
They
breaks
needed these yesterday.
yeah, that they have had to
We have
repair
a
that we need
hole
to
at
get up.
Georgetown and Shelby.
Yes, that's one of them.
Any other questions?
Drain blockage.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve item number 21078. Would you poll the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
So Craig, no executive session?
No executive session.
Okay, so don't have anything for executive session. So we're going to go back up to discussion items. Number 2 is water rates, number 21079.
If you have to go, you can, and if y'all want to go, you can, or you can stay. This is going to be a long conversation, I'm afraid.
Hey,
all right.
I want to take a 2-minute break.
Okay.
That's,
You want to recess for 2 minutes?
yes.
I got to get up for a second.
Yeah.
Go for it.
You could take a deed.
Got a water fountain out there.
I think so. We used to.
I'll let you go first.
And then when you stop speaking, you're sitting there thinking, oh, that's why I stopped you, just like, you're down.
They were easy on you,
Really sweet.
Ryan.
Hold on.
I know.
That's what you said.
I know, right? Yeah. I have taught my children that there's no such thing as bullying and taking on, it's just you didn't stand up for yourself.
That's why you're researching.
And whether it's by knowledge or however it may be.
$300 grant.
No.
Boom. The other one stopped and started looking, couldn't figure out where we were because we were that far away.
Hey, Kelly,
Are we ready?
you ready?
Let's get this done.
Oh. Bear with us. You ready to start?
Yeah.
Do you need to get in there?
Hmm?
You go bathroom?
No, I went in to get a drink.
Oh, okay. Do we need to wait for Susan?
No, she's already well aware of this, so she can catch up when she
Okay.
comes in. We can start whenever you're
All right,
ready.
so we'll call the meeting back to order. Discussion item, water rates, item 21079.
All right. So we changed this. Originally, the plan was to come before you this evening and recommend a change in the water rates. As we began taking a deeper dive into the water rates, we started noticing some more issues. And instead of requesting an action item on the agenda tonight, I felt that it would be more appropriate to bring all these issues to your attention. Let's begin discussing them and then maybe revisit them next month. But I wanted to start addressing all of these issues with you tonight. So let's highlight some of our current issues. Currently, the system that we have now is not sustainable under our current water rates. We are not going to be able to continue operating the way that our current structure of the water rates are. We have a dilapidated and outdated parts of our water system that we're currently having to address and replace on a consistent basis. Our reserve balance is dangerously low. Our water reserves currently only sit at $10,000. Current rates are not equitable. One of the things that I noticed when we began looking and researching our rates is that our residential and our commercial rates are identical. There isn't a city in the state of Texas that has identical water rates for commercial customers as residential customers. Well, I shouldn't say there isn't. I haven't found one in the state of Texas that has identical rates for commercial and residential. Currently, we're having to utilize other department funds and general fund to supplement our water system operations, and that's not how things should be operating. The water system should be able to fund itself. We should be able to handle all operations within the water fund, and we're not currently doing that. I'll give you some examples as we get into it here in just a little bit, but we're not operating that way currently. We are currently dependent upon the city of Fort Worth to maintain water system minimums. Means that we have to have our connections to Fort Worth to pass all of our testing. We have to rely on Fort Worth's water system to pass all of our minimum mandates and to maintain our system. We shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to be on our own. Currently, our ISO rating is only a 4. We should be capable of lowering that. Our ISO rating is dependent upon really 2 departments primarily, the fire department and the water department. And we do not have in our budget any allocation for water and sewer fund reserves. So we're not designating any dollar amount when we do our budget to build our reserves back up. The only way that we've been able to build our reserves is as we have raised the water rates midway through the year. The excess we get from that raise, we've tossed it into the water and sewer fund, which has brought us out of the red and barely into the green at sitting at only $10,000. So let's go over a couple of the financials with the water and sewer system. Our budgeted revenue this year was $1.8 million. Our budgeted expenses was $1.8 million. We currently only have $10,000 sitting in our water and sewer fund reserve. Why do I want to talk about our reserve fund? Well, Miss Allen, you had asked last week about trying to provide some sort of break or something for our citizens after the winter weather thing. I wanted to bring that up because we've looked at some of the breaks that other municipalities are doing, and to do what the smallest break that I've found that other municipalities are doing would cost us $17,000. We don't even have the funds in our reserve fund to be able to cut our citizens a break when we have a disaster. General fund right now covers many expenses, including our vehicles for the water department, our fuel, the maintenance on those vehicles, insurance, and heavy machinery. Tonight, we just had to utilize street tax funds to purchase heavy machinery that's going to be used across both water and sewer fund. Water and street departments. We don't have funds within the water and sewer fund to be able to purchase the heavy machinery that's needed for these guys to go out there and repair these main breaks. We don't have funds right now to purchase a jet vac machine that's needed. We're going to have to use general funds to do that. We shouldn't be in that position. So what are our goals? First, we have to set our rates at a level that covers the full cost of producing, treating, storing, and distributing water to our customers. This includes debt service, financial reserves, operation, maintenance, and all regulatory compliance costs. That needs to be one of our goals. Rates must be fair and equitable. Fair means that the rate is high enough to cover the full cost of the system, and equitable means that each class of customer is paying its fair share of the cost. And then another one of our goals is we should be able to build a reserve balance that will cover 3 months of our water system operations in the event of a catastrophic event. Our reserve fund balance for the water and sewer fund needs to be at least $464,000. That means if for whatever reason something major happened and we lost all of our revenue for 3 months, we would be able to continue operations. Right now, if we lost all of our revenue, we would not be able to continue operations through the end of the month. Another goal is to build a capital improvement fund to allow for system improvements and upgrades, minimize the need to levy ad valorem taxes, issue bonds, or take out additional loans. What we've had to do in the past is levy ad valorem taxes. We've had to increase property taxes to be able to cover the upgrades and things that we've needed to do to our water system that really should have been funded by the water and sewer fund to begin with. Again, the water and sewer fund needs to be a standalone program on its own that pays for its own. I'm not just making that up. That comes directly from the Texas TCEQ. That comes directly from recommendations across the nation that the water system has to be able to function on its own and stand alone on its own. So let's talk about our current water system real quick. This is the breakdown. I pulled out the highlights. Our water system goes into really grainy details. I wanted to pull out the highlights to just address the highlights of our water system and how our pay structure is, or our rate structure is. Currently, we have roughly 1,600 residential customers. We don't have any residential customers currently on 1 inch or bigger lines. We do have rates for those, but we don't have any customers on those size lines. We have 168 senior citizen customers, and then roughly 150 commercial varying in size from 3/4 inch up to 4 inch. Altogether, we have just under 2,000 total active water accounts. 328 of our residential accounts are rental accounts. Renters use those. I'll get to why it's important to consider the renter accounts here in just a few minutes. So what did we do? We went out and we surveyed 5 like-sized cities within North Texas, somewhere in this region. And every single survey we pulled had a base rate that was much higher than our base rate is. The step rates, which the step rates are the part where it talks about 2,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, those kinds of things. They varied in every city by volume. Some cities didn't match exactly how we had it broke down. So I didn't include those numbers in the average. However, almost every single one of the step rates was also higher than our step rate. So this is our current base rate here on the left. For the residential 3/4 inch, our base rate is $21.23. Based off the survey of the 5 different cities, we took the average of those 5 different cities, and that average was $26.78, indicating a $5.55 difference on the residential water rate. I'm going to skip over the commercial for just a second and come down here to sewer. The residential sewer rate currently, our base rate is $21.77. The survey average was $30.68, showing an $8.91 difference on residential. Our commercial currently is matched up perfectly with our residential rates. So the residential rate for a 1-inch line is also $25.53, all the way down the board. That's not an equitable system that we have in place. We're not treating each class the way that it should be treated. Not each class is paying its fair share of the system. If you look at the averages, the disparity grows much bigger as you start to address the commercial lines. The survey average, for example, on a commercial 8-inch line is $1,434.64. Our base rate is $432, $1,000 less than the average. I'm not bringing this to your attention to make you panic, but I really do think it's important that council understands just how low our rates are and have been, and why we're struggling in the water department to keep our water system functional in the way it is. So I'm a dreamer, and a dreamer's going to dream. So I decided, okay, what would happen if we adopted the average rates? What would happen if we adopted these numbers right here as our water rates right now? And so I want to show you what would happen. It would roughly be a $14.46 per month impact to most residential customers, a $14 increase on their water bill. We're talking base rates. We're not talking consumption. So it's just the base rate increase. If we adopted that average, it would give us over $380,000 additional revenue a year. We would be able to meet our reserve goal that I talked about, that $464,000 a few minutes ago. We'd be able to meet that in less than 2 years. We would also be able to establish a water and sewer capital improvement fund. You know, we just approved a CIP, and we have some water line replacement projects that are desperately needed that we need to address. We have a jet vac system truck that's desperately needed that we need to address, but we don't have a fund to address those. We have nothing in there. This would allow us to begin building that fund to address these issues. This would give us the capability of paying off debt faster. The Texas Water Development Loan, the bond packages we just took out, we would be able to pay those off faster. And by paying those off faster, we would actually be able to lower our ad valorem taxes. Now, let me explain a little bit more in detail. This $14.46 per month impact, that equals $168 per home a year. Your ad valorem taxes that we increased affected way more than $168 annually by having to levy our ad valorem taxes. Additionally, when you levy ad valorem taxes, you are hitting property owners in the pocketbook. You are not hitting your renters. There are 368 accounts in the city that is renters that are getting by with probably one of the cheapest water bills in the state of Texas right now. And they're not paying their dues. Instead, the property owners are paying them through ad valorem taxes, and they're paying much more than what the water fund is going to produce. If we adopted the average, there wouldn't be a need to utilize general fund to cover water and wastewater operations. It would be a standalone operation on its own. It would also give us the ability to improve on the system reliability and dependability, to be able to break free from Fort Worth and stand alone on our own. Our engineers told us that we would need one more additional water well above and beyond the one that's currently about to be built. And we would need to improve several of our water lines. As we look forward and continue to build on that capital improvement fund, this would give us the ability to reach those goals. As it stands right now, we're not going to be able to reach those goals. This would give us the ability to improve the system so that we can become independent from Fort Worth. And it would help us qualify for a lower ISO rating. which ultimately means lower property owner insurance rates. Landon talked earlier about the ISO rating and saving roughly $400 to $600 a year if we're able to get it from a 4 down to a 2. Well, that $400 to $600 a year is well above the $168 impact this is going to have on our residential customers. So that being said, I want to highlight, I know that talking about water rates is a sensitive topic. Nobody wants to raise water rates. I live here in the city. I don't want my water rates to go up. All of you live in the city. The last thing we want to do is increase our water rates. But I am afraid that we are on a path that if we do not sincerely address this issue and talk about it, that we are going to have one of two options, and that's either to adopt some very high rates to be able to make up for lost time, or we're going to have to look at selling our system and outsourcing our water and laying off employees to be able to cover it. We do not have the funds, and we're not building the funds and on the path to be able to operate our water system the way it currently is. So that's the great news I have for you this evening. And I'd like to open it up for just discussion to talk with you about this and maybe how you would like to proceed forward. My recommendation, coming from the business mind only, my recommendation would be to look at adopting those average rates as quickly as we possibly can and getting there as quickly as we can, so we can start moving forward with the progress that needs to be made.
Now, are you talking residential and commercial?
Yes.
All of it.
All of it.
That 380 that you spoke of for additional revenue, was that residential accounts only, or was that inclusive of the commercial?
No, it's inclusive of the commercial. That's both.
All of it.
Unfortunately, the 3 times we've raised it, 250 and 250, that's just keeping us static where we're at, right?
Yes, because each year cost of materials goes up. Each year our system becomes further dilapidated and we're having to address more issues. Each year cost of personnel goes up, cost of benefits goes up. I mean, everything's going up. So the little raises that we have been doing are not addressing the issue.
I know there for 8 years, we didn't do a single water rate change.
I think it was longer than that.
Well, I know of at least 8.
Yeah.
My goal,
Okay.
my recommendation would be is to get to an acceptable water rate level as quickly as we possibly can. And then annually address the water rate issue when we do our budget. Every year it needs to be addressed. And we need to be calculating the small increases at a time, because a $14 hit is hard for any resident to absorb. And we know that, and I know that. But when you talk, 50 cents a year or 65 cents a year here and there, that's much easier for a resident to absorb and understand. And those rates go up. But because we haven't addressed this annually, we haven't addressed this appropriately, we are now in the position where we are pretty much faced with a choice of either selling our system off and laying off employees and outsourcing our water to another municipality, or doing something drastic that's going to allow us to continue our operations.
Well, in the conversation that you and I had, brought up to senior citizens.
Yes.
How we could, what am I trying to say?
You can, we have 168 accounts, and currently our senior citizen rate is roughly $18.50 base rate for the senior citizen. It's not going to hurt us financially to make that a much smaller increase or keep that down to like $1 increase. I understand the concern for wanting to try to take care of the fixed income folks. But when you're talking 2,000 accounts and you're only slightly increasing 168 of them, that's not going to be a big impact. That number I showed you does not include a raise on the senior citizen rate.
Okay.
So I know that that's a concern. It's a concern of mine too. We need to be mindful of our senior citizens, and I understand that. The other thing to kind of keep in mind, without getting political, is that there's going to be a hike in minimum wage. That's going to impact our operations. We're going to have to increase salaries in the coming years, and we have to offset that somehow, somewhere.
The ultimate goal, pay the money now, and then we should see a decrease in our ad valorem taxes.
Yes.
Our insurance rates.
Yes.
So in long run, it'll be a reduction in people's payments or water payments.
Yes.
The bad part about it is right now there's so many people hurting.
And unfortunately, the city of Everman is one of them.
I'm talking about.
I know. I know.
Yes. This has been a bad past year and everybody's having to struggle some a little bit, I think.
Yes, and we recognize that, but at the same time, when you look at other cities, they would be paying this water in any city that they live in, regardless of if they live in Everman, Fort Worth, or wherever, they're still gonna have the bill. So yes, we realize that there are people struggling, but we have to still address our finances at the same time.
Oh, I understand, but other cities have a lot more people than we do.
And the income of our citizens is not
Yeah,
high.
so-
I got a call this week if I could go buy some clothes to take to school because these kids needed clothes. So I went and bought $200 worth of clothes. So what are they going to do when they get an increase in $15 water bill? And I see what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And the counter argument to that is regardless of what the median income is, it still costs us the same to operate a water, and we've got to be able to afford it somehow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have to outsource that. And if we did outsource it, you can bet they're going to be paying the new rates anyway.
They're going to be paying higher rates because they're outsourcing it.
And so I understand the median income argument. I do. There are programs out there, and if we need to be doing a better job to trying to steer our residents towards those programs, particularly the ones that need help, towards those programs to help them afford their utilities and things, we can do that. I mean, the Public Utilities Commission has programs out there to help those folks out. But I don't think that we can make adjustments on our rates based off what the median income is. We have to be able to adjust our rates based off the actual cost of operations.
So did replacing the meters help any?
Oh, it helps some. It helps some, but
It helped to bring us out of the red.
yeah.
But it was under the impression it was going to be this big benefit. Didn't happen.
I mean, it really allowed for more accountability on the water. I mean, we're
more
accounting for
efficient.
more, and more efficient on work. But as far as being able to really provide depth within our reserve funds and afford projects and things, it hasn't gotten us there.
Well, here's the thing too. I mean, you had just gave us, what was it, last month or so, the water rate schedule, for the 250 more and all that. And then now we're coming back saying, okay, actually we need $14.
Yes. And that's because we took a deeper dive, and that's why I changed it from being an action item tonight to a discussion item, because I really wanted you to be aware just how severe the situation is.
I understand that.
Hey, can you send this out to everybody?
Yeah.
The council, and then we'll definitely get in deeper discussion at the work session.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're between a rock and a hard place, and unfortunately, it's one of the things we've had to address on several occasions. We're just hadn't done enough to keep our heads above water. So
It's one of those things, we're going to have to bite the bullet and do it. We're going to have to do it.
Oh, I thought Kelly said something bad. I wasn't sure what happened up there for a second.
Kept leaning forward. For Kelly to duck.
I'll tell you later.
Have you did the calculations for as possibly instead of 15 going maybe 10 or even half to see what it might look like?
So I can actually send that little worksheet out to you. My job is to give you the bad news, and as council, it's up to you to decide how we're going to approach it. My recommendation would be to look at the residential water rates as quickly as possible, and trying to get to that average as quickly as possible, or as close to that average as we possibly can. But it's ultimately your decision, and now that you're informed on exactly what our position is, your responsibility to kind of decide on what path we're going to take and how we're going to get there.
Well, and at some point, we're going to have to look at another water tower.
Yes.
So, and we're talking $1 million plus for that. So
all the more reason to build up
we've
that
got to
reserve.
start generating
these
some revenue.
The projects are,
Well,
there's
the
no
good news
end.
about that is if we do that second tower, you're independent from Fort Worth, so you'll no longer be liable to that contract with them.
Which is
helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's approximately $60,000 a month
Okay.
that we pay to Fort Worth.
Wow.
So there would be savings in that area as well, once we,
Now, water tower, would another well site do that?
Either
Either?
one.
Okay.
I don't
That's a
know,
lot of
maybe,
money.
maybe we could do like, some every quarter, or something, or every 3 months, I don't know. 6 months or something, without just all of a sudden, here you go.
But I hate to say it, maybe like a Band-Aid, you just got to grab it and pull it off fast. So,
Yeah, I know.
but we definitely need to have more discussion on this.
Okay. I agree.
Oh, when do you when are you thinking this needs to be decided before the next fiscal year?
I'm gonna place it on the agenda next month as an action item.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so we'll discuss it tonight. We'll discuss it again at the work session. And then third discussion if needed at the council meeting, but I would recommend we move on this in April. We were supposed to look at increasing water rates this month, but because of the severity of it and the issues that we discovered, I wanted to bring it before you for discussion one more time first.
Yeah, at least that'll give us a little bit of time to think about everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to hit you up tonight and tell you, oh, never mind, we're gonna recommend $14 and have you vote on it tonight. So I knew that wouldn't be a smart move.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Do you have any questions or is there anything you would like me to research?
Not yet.
Okay.
Anybody else? Kelly, Linda, good?
Like I said, I think we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and do it.
Okay, so we'll this will be on the work session for next month and we'll go into further discussions at that point.
but if anyone thinks of anything, excuse me, prior to that, then. Craig
Yeah,
and I can do our
definitely. If
research.
you have any questions or anything or any information you want, then please contact Craig. And
We'd like to have the
let's
material,
not wait till the last second.
right, that way we have the material ready at the work session for discussion.
The only other thing I think I would add is that we are not looking at adjusting the step rates right now. We're just talking about the base rates. But the step rates in other municipalities are typically higher than ours.
Okay.
So we're
What
not.
do you mean step rates?
So there's a consumption rate that's added within the water rates. And for example, from 2,000 gallons, so the base rate that they pay right now, the 2123, covers their meter and the maintenance cost and so forth, but it also covers them for up to 1,000 or 2,000? 2,000 gallons of water. Once they go over 2,000 gallons, they're charged $4.26 for every 1,000 gallons they use over that until 5,000 gallons. And then from 6,000 gallons to 10,000 gallons, they get charged $4.59 per 1,000 gallons. And then 11,000 to 25,000, $4.98. And then 25,000 gallons and higher is $5.20. Other municipality step rates are higher than that, but we're not looking to address that right now. I think we just start with the base rates. And then once our base rates are at an acceptable level, again, every year as we do budget, we need to be evaluating our water rates and making sure that they're covering the cost of the system. And let me be clear on this too. We're not coming in and asking for the increase or recommending the increase on the water rates to pay for anything outside of the water and sewer fund and its operations. We're not asking for this increase to cover street operations or fire operations or police. This is just to cover the actual cost of operating and maintaining the system. The water system itself should be fully funded and operational all on its own. So whether we have it or don't have it, general fund, street fund, all the other stuff should maintain completely, should be completely independent and operational on their own. These should not commingle the way that they're commingling now. We're spending both water sewer funds and tax funds on the water system, and we shouldn't be doing that. What that does is that not only hinders our water operations, but it hinders every other operation that we have within the city as well, because we're not able to allocate the general fund the way we should be able to, or our street improvement tax, we're having to spend these other funds on things just to maintain the water system.
Any other questions? I guess not. So, city manager's report, do you have anything, Craig?
The only thing I just wanted to add is that we are roughly 2 weeks away from breaking ground on the fire station. We have decided that we're going to have kind of a informal and very small groundbreaking ceremony at the fire station when that date comes. We don't know what the exact date of it is yet, but as soon as I do, I'm going to shoot out a notice to all of council. We'd love for council members to be there. We'll make sure to get that posted and so forth, and invite you all out and have a groundbreaking ceremony at the fire station when they begin construction.
Approximately 2.5 weeks. Rough.
We're just waiting on permit phase right now.
Okay. Mayor's report, I don't believe I have anything.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. The library, if all of you should be, I'm getting an incredible amount of updates. I mean, I can't say that I'm not informed of what's going on at the library because they update me 3 times a day.
Yes.
So I'm forwarding those out to you. If for some reason you don't want them, just let me know. But I wanted to make sure you were in the loop on the library. So just let me know if you don't want to receive those anymore, because I know they can be a bit overwhelming.
I think they take a picture every time they move a book.
Yes, they take a lot of pictures.
So,
Yeah, it looks funny though, it being so empty.
Yes.
okay. I don't have anything. So next, citizens' comments. Do we have anything, Mindy? Okay, we have no citizens' comments. So with that being said, we are adjourned.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I think Susan